Video is brought to you by Mine. Hey Wisecrack, Helen here. So something weird is happening to ostensibly smart public figures lately. Public intellectuals, if you will. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who built a massive platform to spread science literacy, has transformed into a weird well-actually guy who says very dumb things about philosophy.
My concern there is that the philosopher believes they're actually asking deep questions about nature. And to the scientist, it's, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? Well, why are you concerning yourself with the meaning of meaning?
Which I am still very mad about, Neil. Then there's your Elon Musk type, who has leveraged his fortune and fame to become a self-appointed spokesman on a wide variety of issues, while routinely giving out information that is either bonkers or just plain deceptive, to the point that even I, a once self-proclaimed Elon Musk fangirl, can no longer stand
His
behind.
name is
The institutions
Hasan.
that publish public intellectuals aren't doing well either. The New York Times...
Remember when Elon Musk correctly predicted that coronavirus would be over by February or by April? I mean, he's a scientist, dude.
Can't seem to go 1 month without putting out a massively ridiculed op-ed from brainy folks like David Brooks. And then there's the hundreds or thousands or Jesus, I can't even count the amount of YouTube talking heads with hyper-dedicated followings, good and bad, that cover current events and popular culture. While it's too diverse a group to describe monolithically, and I won't name any names for fear of provoking their legions, these YouTube public intellectuals...
Elon Simps be like, he never said what year! I love that. I love the argument. It is actually Elon meant like April of 2021 actually, or 2022 even. Could be. He didn't say what year, so when he said Corona will go away 0 deaths by April, he just meant whichever year.
You might have come across your feeds for instance, not understanding basic human anatomy. It'd be easy to think that our society is getting dumber or our great thinkers less rigorous, but that doesn't seem like a fair assessment. There are some truly great intellectuals out there doing great work. Still, as chronically online people who like to learn, we're convinced that there's something severely messed up about how knowledge is created.
Are you suggesting that Elon Kuhn isn't epic Mars bacon? Please, honey, if you knew your science, which I fucking love, by the way, as evidenced by the fact that I am subscribed to every single iteration of I fucking love science Facebook blogs, then you'd know that Senpai SpaceX is single-handedly taking humanity to Mars. Also, I'm so tired of Jellyhose, mad at him for not getting his humor. His company is SpaceX. SpaceX, LMAO, for anyone without a STEM degree who couldn't get it. His cars are the models S3XY. Get it? Sexy, for those of you who can't understand leet speak. You guys are just jealous that you can handle the 420 joke. LOL.
And shared in the 21st century. So
incredible
what if
copy
DeGrasse Tyson's
pasta.
weird Twitter threads are a symptom of a much larger problem? And what if the biggest threat to good ideas is not at all what you thought? Let's find out in this Wisecrack edition on public intellectuals. What happened?
Wait, what does this imply that H-Bomber guy's a public intellectual and so is Joe Rogan?
First,
what?
Here's a bad idea. Letting your personal data flow your email is control free, flowing into Foundation. It is a straight looking into mine today. Click the link in the description to check it out for free. It is a strange time for our society, intellectually speaking. The amount of money flowing into foundations, both liberal and conservative, to produce new and original research is unprecedented. Authors are paid tens of thousands of dollars to speak to private and public groups of curious minds. There are whole conferences dedicated to exploring new and disruptive ideas. And places like YouTube have reduced the traditional media stranglehold on the dissemination of ideas. If there's a marketplace of ideas where information, good and bad,
Yes, we're gonna watch the Trump rally as always.
One might think this is a kind of golden age.
To see what he says about my main man Hunter.
So what's going on? To figure that out, let's talk about what scholar Daniel Dresner calls the ideas industry. A vast ecosystem of thought production that stands in contrast to the intellectual landscape of decades past. For Dresner, a public intellectual is a person who comments on a variety of ideas. They know enough about many things to be able to point out intellectual charlatans. They expose accepted wisdom when it doesn't stand up to scrutiny, and And for this, a public intellectual is crucial to democratic discourse. They span the ideological spectrum. People like William F. Buckley, Bertrand Russell, or James Baldwin. The French love them. And people like Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, and Michel Foucault were superstars in the bistro-lined streets of their native country. They went on TV and radio and criticized their government's foreign policy. They would debate about race and racism, and so on.
Putting Buckley up there with like someone like Foucault is so funny and completely gives the game away that Republicans, reactionaries in general, have no fucking standing in the intellectual circles, and it's basically affirmative action for them. Okay, we're doing a jobs program for conservatives. Now, affirmative action would also imply that, like, you know, people who don't deserve to be in positions of power are getting it. That's not even the case. But in the circumstance of like Republicans getting a jobs program, they literally are doing that. They don't deserve to be in that position next to like prolific writers, philosophers, actual people who you would regard as like actual people who you would regard as members of the intelligentsia. And then you have William F. Buckley. Like, are you joking? Are you fucking joking, dude?
Public intellectuals still exist, but for everyone you can name, there's probably a dozen pseudo-intellectuals who come to mind much more easily. What
Like
Dresner
me.
calls thought leaders, a horrific invention of the ideas industry. You probably know the type. Someone with a big idea. An idea that will revolutionize everything. If a public intellectual curmudgeonly points out what's wrong with everyone else's worldview, a thought leader is an evangelist for their own. Public intellectuals tread carefully and weigh evidence. Thought leaders have a product to sell. And sometimes, public intellectuals are
Communism.
seduced into becoming thought leaders themselves. Enter Amy Cuddy. Cuddy is a social psychologist who spent the first few years of her career doing the normal academic thing, researching, publishing, thinking. Then, in 2010, she published a paper suggesting that one's posture could have effects not only on their psyche, but their biochemistry. By doing a power pose, say, a person could not only experience feelings of power, but raise their testosterone and reduce the levels of cortisol, the stress chemical, in their blood. Intimidated before your big sales meeting? Do a power pose. Gotta ace an exam? Power pose. Stuck on Dark Souls? Stand up, put your legs in a wide stance, and pick that controller back up, my guy. It's not just defeating demons, though. Cuddy and her fellow researchers suggested this simple hack might be of particular use to those who feel chronically powerless. Whether it's because you're the grunt in an organization, or because you belong to a social group that has been, in scientific terms,
For the people who don't understand, the point of the video and says like, oh, Hasan, they're talking about you. Like, no, there's a difference. Like, I don't try to make it seem like I'm a fucking intelligent person. I routinely tell you that I am a fucking himbo or that I'm an idiot. I've said like 3 times today that I'm not a smart person at all. I listen to smart people. Okay? All of those other people that they're referencing, one, have product to sell you. I don't. You literally beg me every fucking day to make you merchandise, and I don't do that. And secondly, I don't have like a big, bold idea, nor have I ever claimed intellectual legitimacy, as the chatter pointed out.
Screwed by society. 2 years later, Cuddy would go on to give a TED Talk about the topic that will become the platform's second most popular, with over 40 million views. The implication, of course, is that if you're powerless in society, the power pose can help you climb to the top of the social hierarchy, thus combating inequality.
And I realized that she had not just faked it till she made it, she had actually faked it till she became it.
Also, TED Talk tickets are between $5,000 and $10,000. I don't make the rules. While Cuddy is no doubt an academic, her TED success had launched her into the role of a thought leader. As author Anand Giridharadas writes in his book, Winners Take All, her academic work now was competing with a budding speaking career and a self-help book. She was named a game changer by Time magazine in 2012. She had a product, and that product was the power pose. Of course, as an academic, she was interested in other kinds of research that, in theory, she would also like to expose to a wide audience. But instead of boosting her other work, her TED fame did the opposite, as Giridharadas notes. Despite Cuddy's rising fame, she found herself in a dilemma. She was an academic interested in studying the complexities of prejudice and sexism, and yet her TED Talk had drowned out every other thing she had ever said, and now she was fielding lucrative invitation after invitation to offer her ideas. The lack of interest in her other work was not exactly a coincidence either. Cuddy had made a splash at the ideas circuit, defined by events like TED, South by Southwest, or the Aspen Ideas Festivals, and made it to the big leagues of the ideas industry. At this point, authors like Dres.
This stuff is so trash, dude. All this stuff, like all of these like big ideas circuits where like rich liberals fly from all around the world to get together to like listen to other grifters, tell them how they can have like a marginal edge